I'm now going to be joined by Mohammed Seyam, who is going to be talking with us about the situation of people with diabetes in Gaza. I know that this is a topic that people have been asking about. They are truly interested to know how people in Gaza with diabetes, what is going on there. And Mohammed, I'm really pleased that you are able to join me today. Hello, how are you? Let's start with that question.
Well, thank you so much, Franza. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. And I believe I'm doing well. I'm trying my very best, of course, throughout those kind of hard times and challenging times for my people to support people. And again, maybe seeing Tino and listening to his words just a few minutes ago, kind of boosted my mood a little bit. And yeah, I really appreciate him talking, and I really appreciate the work that we all do in the global diabetes community to support each other and to ensure that every person living with diabetes gets the chance to live a happy, fulfilling life, to advocate, to be part of this amazing united community itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're such an important part of our dedoc Voices community and the broader diabetes community as well. We're going to talk today about what the situation is for people with diabetes, but also what people at home can do to support people in Gaza and also, I think that for a lot of people, they feel that there's nothing that they can do. But I'm so pleased that you're here to share some of those tangible things that people can do. So let's start with talking about what do you know about the situation in Gaza at the moment? What is it that you would like to share with us today?
Yeah. Well, I'd just like to start by saying that living with diabetes itself is challenging, and we all know this. We all go through tough decisions every day, maybe like thousands of extra thoughts. How many units of insulin do I take? How do I measure my food? And what do I do every day? And that by itself is challenging, even if we have I'd say the privilege of diabetes technologies and the supplies that we always use in our daily life with diabetes. And this is kind of a way for me to pave the way or paint a picture on how would someone living with diabetes manage their condition in such challenging times and during a humanitarian crisis, where their access to supplies, resources, education is very limited. Now, living with diabetes in Gaza, and I've been there myself. Now, I'm not in the Gaza Strip at the moment. I've just left like a few months ago. But living with diabetes in Gaza itself, even during quote unquote peaceful time, is challenging with the very limited access to resources, to the education, to supplies. And through advocacy, we've been trying for years to support people living with diabetes in Gaza, and a lot of people here in this call know a lot about our advocacy journey in Gaza. And thanks to Emma, she spoke about Life for a Child and their efforts in many countries around the world, and Palestine is one of those countries. Life for a Child have been a great support for the diabetes community in the Gaza Strip, and throughout our advocacy, we've been able to contribute to access to supplies, insulin, and education to a lot of people living with diabetes, but more specifically type 1 diabetes in the Gaza Strip. Now, with the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip and the aggression on people of the Gaza Strip, people living with diabetes find it really challenging and complicating to manage their conditions. And that could be simply if we talk about the fear, the stress, the lack of sleep that they go through that would make it really kind of impossible for them to manage their condition. And the ongoing power cuts that they go through where they don't know how to store the insulin or how can they make sure that their insulin lasts enough for them throughout those days. People living with diabetes in Gaza have no access to insulin at the moment because the borders are closed. No humanitarian aid is going into the Gaza Strip, and the resources that the healthcare system, the collapsed healthcare system, is having at the moment are very limited, and therefore. I personally know a lot of people with diabetes in Gaza at the moment who are rationing their insulin just for their insulin to last a little bit longer. A lot of them are changing the types of insulin that they used to have or they used to inject themselves with to new types or the types that are available at the primary healthcare centers where they could get insulin. but almost half of the primary healthcare centers in the Gaza Strip are now closed, are out of service because of what's going on, and people can't go to consult a doctor or see or get a prescription. So mostly they would just go to the refuge centers or the UNRWA schools, the UN schools in the Gaza Strip, where they have kind of a room for supplies, the medical supplies, and they'll get their insulin from there based on what's available or what they could get from there. Now, with it being very hard to manage the condition, of course, it would mean that people with diabetes are more susceptible to hyperglycemias, and they can't even test their blood glucose levels on a regular basis because they don't have strips and enough supplies. So I was just talking to a friend of mine this morning, and he told me that he only tests one time every 3 days, just to imagine how hard it is for him to get his hands on supplies and to get his hands on strips. Um, and with being more susceptible to hyperglycemia, this means that you need to drink more water, and now access to food and drinkable water in the Gaza Strip is even more limited, and the scarcity of resources all around the Strip is a burden, is an extra burden for everyone, and of course, it's much more of a bigger burden for people living with type 1 diabetes. Without insulin, you'd need to be an inpatient in a hospital. You need to visit an ER, and if you're having a diabetic ketoacidosis, you need an ICU bed. And with the ongoing situation, with the mass casualties, the collapsed healthcare system is dealing with, we're talking about no ICU beds, and a patient with type 1 diabetes, who we all know without insulin would simply die, now can't even go to a hospital to get the proper treatment and the proper management that they deserve as human beings, and as people of the Gazan community. And they can't enter an ICU bed or be admitted an ICU bed because we have shortage of ICU beds at the moment because of the mass casualties. Um, but with this kind of brief overview about the situation of people with diabetes in the Gaza Strip, I can tell you how advocacy could help and how
Yes.
important it is. Because
Yes.
advocacy has supported and has helped people with diabetes in the Gaza Strip before, and it will continue doing so in Gaza and in other parts of the world. Even with the simplest things that we could do by posting about diabetes in Gaza, by sharing it to our friends, to our family, to anybody close to us, or by, for example, writing a letter to our congressman, to the parliament in my country, to the people who are decision makers and policy makers in our countries, just to support them or put more pressure on them to support people ongoing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, opening the borders, or at least getting the humanitarian aid that is waiting in the convoys in the on the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing. And that is the spirit of the diabetes community. That is what makes me always say that I can't be more prouder to be part of the diabetes community, because I know that we're always there for each other. We support each other. We understand each other. We feel for each other. And it only takes kind of an ounce of humanity for each of us to feel for others' ongoing crises around the world, such even if it's even if we're now talking about Gaza, but those crises around the world are happening in different parts of the world. And again, it is a kind of a moral responsibility for us to talk about people with diabetes all around the world, to share their voices, to be their voices, and to amplify the support that we could get or we could give for those people in order to support them in living a happy, fulfilling, healthy life. And this is the message that we all care about in the diabetes community. We care for each other, we support each other, and we want every person living with diabetes around the globe to live a happy, fulfilling life. Throughout a lot of advocacy campaigns, mainly right now at the moment, we're doing what we call the Diabetes Humanitarian Aid Coalition. You could find that on social media. We're mailing a lot of policymakers, a lot of international organizations. We're following up. We're supporting in any way we can to ensure and to make sure that we connect the dots. And again, we amplify the voices of advocates across the globe to support the needs of diabetes in Gaza.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mo. I know that there are, and we've just seen it in the comments that are coming through, is people are desperate to help. They want to help, and at this stage, it is about contacting local members of parliament. It is doing that sort of advocacy. There is real power in that, though, isn't there? I feel that a lot of the time people don't understand how loud the collective voice is, but their own voice as well is really, really important to add to that choir. Is that one of the most important things that can be happening right
Def-
now?
well, definitely, because this is
Yeah,
the least that we can do. This is the only kind of possible way to support at the moment, because
yeah,
we can't, for example, just get donations or get supplies into the Gaza Strip at the moment
yes,
because of the closed borders, because it's like there's no way in or out of the Gaza Strip right now. But we can do is just keep putting pressure on those policymakers to ensure that our voices are heard and that the actions must be taken to support people with diabetes in the Gaza Strip. A lot of people could just think or assume that, oh, my voice doesn't matter, but
yeah,
it definitely matters a lot. And
absolutely.
yeah, if we collectively keep talking, keep posting, keep advocating, keep raising awareness about the situation of people living with diabetes in the Gaza Strip, this would mean that it's kind of a collective voice, it's a louder voice, and it would reach higher
Yeah.
places and definitely get us where we want to be, hopefully in the very near future, in the coming days.
Absolutely, and I can say it takes no time at all. I know this, our foreign minister here in Australia has a dedicated phone line for people to call and to register how they're feeling and what they want the government to do. So please, everybody, have a look at what your governments are doing and how you can access and how you can contact people immediately. Yes. But I think what you've said there is really important. We do know that the diabetes community steps up. The first thing that I thought of was, right, where do I donate? Who do I send things to? But at the moment, that may not be what we need to do. This is about organizing. This is about, using that voice to go to MPs. We're seeing huge rallies of support, people joining things like that. That's also really important, isn't it? That's because that's part of the political pressure, isn't it?
Definitely, of course, yes, indeed. This is again, this is what we could do at the moment. We can't just, for again, send supplies right now. So the only choice we have at the moment is to speak up, to use our voices, and to use every matter of power that we have to ensure again that people with diabetes in the Gaza Strip get the supplies that they need to simply live. Again,
Yeah,
without those supplies, there will be no life for those people, and this is the least that we could do. Again, it's a moral responsibility for us to speak up, to feel for others, and to support them through what they're going through.
absolutely. Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so grateful that you've taken time from your day to do this, to share with us what the situation is and what you know about the situation. You are just such an important voice in our community, and I would urge people. We did have Mo's. There we go. Mo's Instagram there that you can follow for updates. And as soon as we know where people can make donations to, once we're at that stage, I know that that is something that we'll all be making sure we get that information out as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, can I just also add that it's not about writing a letter or contacting your local MPs or your foreign ministers or whatever once. Do it more than once. You can do it. I mean, I don't know what it's like everywhere else. And I know there are some Aussies watching now, Leon, but there will be other people who watch it back. It's a phone call. It is a phone call. So there are ways that you can do things, but don't just do it once, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the more pressure you put. Whether that's on social media, whether that's you
Yeah.
posting something, a story, or posting a post, or speaking about it with your friends, with your family, and maybe when you're speaking with your family or friends, it will be only you talking or only you sending that email or phone call. It will be more people talking about it. Would be a collective again action towards supporting people in the Gaza Strip for sure.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. I'll continue to reach out to you and listen to your very important voice in our community around this. Mo, please, thank you. For the rest of your day and the rest of your World Diabetes Day, I'm sure there is always so much going on. But thank you so much. We'll
Thank
keep
you.
in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that was, I know that was one of the issues right now globally that people with diabetes are asking for information about. How fortunate we are that Mohammed there able to lend some insights into what people in Gaza are experiencing right now, but also what we as a collective community and individually can be doing right now.